The 50-year mortgage.
Oh boy.
Another form of debt slavery, in my view. But, do you have a 50-year mortgage? Should we go 100 years? What's your thoughts?
Look, man, again, I think there's some grasping at straws here. I'm not going to defend a 50-year mortgage. Okay. Like that is not a great idea. It doesn't actually, okay, look, maybe there's like, I shouldn't even say it. Actually, I don't even want to defend this a little bit. I'm not even going to try to defend this. It's a pointless proposal. Let's just say that. I don't even want to say it's bad. It's just pointless. It like doesn't solve any problem that it's ostensibly trying to solve. We have basically in this country, we should get into this on our next episode. We're going to talk about, let's have an episode where we talk about things that the Trump admin needs to do to kind of like get things back on the rails in terms of domestic policy, because there's a couple of things happening right now in terms of orientation and focus that are distracting from the core problems facing the country. Obviously, immigration is one, like this broader question of who we are. But then this other thing is we have this basic asymmetry in terms of how our politics and policies benefit the old versus the young. Obviously, that's like a very crude sort of categorization. There's this big middle ground. What do we mean by the old? Of course, any civilization worth living in is going to take care of its elderly. I feel that very strongly. And like, I think a lot of the boomer hate, while perhaps deserved, also loses sight of the fact that it's actually great that we have a society that can like take care of its old people. And
these are also literally our parents.
I love my parents. I want them to have good older lives. I want them be able to like indulge themselves and, be able to go on vacations and drink nice wine and all that kind of stuff. So I don't.
My parents are at the Grand
that.
Canyon right now.
It's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, there's this really distorted asymmetry with how like wealth sort of moves in our culture, and all the wealth moves uphill, actually, from young to old. And I think this is partly the problem of boomer politics. They are such an outsized political force.
Yes.
And they are so narrowly focused, as is everyone else, on their self-interest that they've lost sight of the larger picture of what they're trying to leave behind for the generations that come after. And so, one example of this is that the average first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. 40 years old. This is up from 33 as of 2020. Okay, so it's really accelerating. The average home buyer, that means anybody who buys a home, even people on their second, third, et cetera, is 59. That's very old.
That's crazy.
And what we're seeing is, whether it's intentional or not, I don't think it's intentional, the outcome of these various policies and how we think about who can buy a home and property tax rates and how we architect certain incentives, both the sticks and carrots, have basically crowded young people out of home buying. And this is a massive, massive structural failure on our part. This has massive downstream effects in terms of like fertility rates and everything, and marriage and all the stuff that makes life good. That the housing piece of it is a proxy for all of that. But it's a very important piece of that, and we need to fix this problem. It's both a supply problem and a demand problem. We're going to have to figure out some solution that's better than just going to debt peonage for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I think, look, if we're talking about the American script, the life script that the country offers to young people, it is sleepovers, the football team, homecoming, you go to college, get a job, and then get that, pink house with the white picket fence.
Yep.
Look, that is good. That's very normie. That's very bourgeois. That's very middle class. But like, that actually is an amazing thing. It's an amazing path for most people, and it should be widely available. It's not, which is a huge problem. The 50-year mortgage, the theory behind the policy is pretty simple. It's saying, let's do anything we can to get monthly payments lower. And so if you spread out the payments over a longer time horizon, you will reduce the monthly payments on the median house by something like a couple $100 a month. But what you're doing is you're making it so that housing is then a speculative financial asset because people aren't going to stay and pay off a 50-year loan, and that you're pushing the payment on the principal back, 10 years, 15 years, 20, 25 years. So for the first decade, you're really not paying down any principal at all. That's pure money to the bank. And you're also, this makes it even worse. For the individual, I think it's a bad deal, terrible deal. But for society, it's bad because it will then, if it works, according to the theory, it will artificially inflate demand even further, which drives up housing prices. The real problem is this, and then we're going to get to our last segment. The real problem is that we've flooded the country with currency. We've flooded the country by printing dollars, especially after COVID, where all of that money that is floating around the system has gone to these assets like housing.
Yeah.
In my town, the prices have almost doubled since 2020. I live in a small town. It's nothing special. It should be like Mayberry, an all-American place. And it is unaffordable. Tract homes in an average middle-class neighborhood are now more than $1 million. This should be like a red flag. 50-year mortgages, I think probably good intentions, but not a good solution.